Well, ice fishing season is here now, and I pulled the Zero Lines card that we recorded the auto chart live data to, and here's the same ice pack we had on open water. You can see here's the map that comes stock for this particular lake. It hasn't been mapped in high definition yet, which is why we did our auto chart live mapping, so we could have 1 foot contour intervals, basically a more accurate map when we went ice fishing. Plus, with the composition information, we'll have hardness data too, which can be pretty valuable. So I'm gonna slide this little micro SD card in here, and then you're gonna see this map populate. I get a prompt there asking, do I wanna switch to the Zero Lines card? And the answer to that is yes. And there we go. The spot that I'm most interested in is this structure over here. So we're gonna go drop the snowmobile off, go out there, drive that structure, and start looking for some panfish. So we're on the spot we want to fish, and you can see I have the Helix 5 with a base map on it. Again, lacks detail. It still shows me the general location of this bar that sticks out into the lake. And then I have my auto chart live data, and this is with a 1 foot contour interval. So the first step that I do when I get to a new spot is no different than with my boat. I start driving contours. So I'm going to treat the snowmobile as my boat, and right now I have depth highlight selected. I have the depth highlight option available on this Helix ice pack as well, and I have 20 to 22 feet highlighted. No different than my boat. I'm just going to drive in that highlighted green area right now, adjacent to the steeper contours. So that will represent the base of the drop off. And in the winter time, you'll oftentimes have fish kind of set up in those basin areas, eating bloodworms and other invertebrates. So that's where we're going to start. That doesn't mean the fish are there, but at least it's a systematic start to the search. I have one thing here that Auto Chart Live provides in addition to 1 foot contour interval accuracy, and that's bottom composition. And that can be really important to figuring out a pattern. The blue represents the real hard bottom spots on this particular spot. So the fish may not be there, but at least I know where those hard bottom areas are, so I can eliminate them, or maybe the fish are there. So it's just having bottom hardness is just one more piece of information to help me put the puzzle together. So I'm gonna go drive right now in the green. We're gonna film that from the air. My track is gonna serve as the path that I wanna drill around. So I'm gonna drill the snowmobile track. I'm gonna drill some shallower, I'm gonna drill some deeper, and that'll help me hone in on where those fish might be. At least I have a path to drill out versus just aimlessly drilling holes on this structure. So I started marking a pile of fish on this hole, and if you look at my track here in red, this is the last spot I drilled, and this is where I started to mark them. And you'll note that there's a contour change here. There's an extension, a real subtle point. You can see the contour lines are spread far apart. So this is kind of a basin area, but yet a little bit of structure. Big school of perch, probably a few bluegill mixed in. So I'm gonna drop down. Nice thing about the Helix ice unit, the G2N, is that I can have my sonar screen with mapping if I would like. I did drop a waypoint on this spot, so waypoint management's a pretty big deal. You find a productive hole, you can drop a waypoint and return to that spot. A few bottom hugging fish. Oop, look at, there we go. This one feels a little nicer. You'll get a mixed bag of these panfish running together in the winter, bluegill and crappie, and in this case, solid jumbo perch, because they use the same areas. Oftentimes it's pretty food driven, and we use mapping today to help us kind of figure out the lay of the land. We set up in a bit of a basin area off a subtle point and connected with our first quality fish. So pretty cool to feel that success. And not too far over there is the community hole on this spot. But through custom mapping and then strategically going and drilling out this area and hole hopping, we were able to find a spot for ourselves away from the pack, and that can mean the difference between connecting with some of these guys versus beating your dummy on a depleted spot or where the fish have been pretty heavily pressured. I get a little bite, I'll drop my rod tip, and if I see slack, that means the bait's in the fish's mouth. This one's fighting a little different. Pulling pretty good though. There we go, respectable bluegill. You get out here on a nice day, you can have a great time, catch a lot of fish, catch a lot of different species of fish. And the beauty is you can come back on, following years and have that information in your ice unit. You can have it on open water, but you can, catch these fish with a little bit better consistency, and mapping really changes that. I would argue if there's a time for high quality mapping, ice fishing in particular, is very powerful because you don't have as much mobility. So you really do need to be smart as to where you drill a hole and how you break down that water. An Auto Chart Live is just another tool in the toolkit.